Perfect.
Okay, so in honor of the hip-related stuff everybody was mentioning, we're going to start in a variation of supported bridge. So bring yourself onto your back and make accessible your bolster, or you can even pre-fold, if you have a yoga type blanket, one of these firmer blankets, you can pre-fold it into a sort of narrow log type thing and have that as an option too. So of course you can use blocks as well. You'll see where we're going with this if you're not already clear on my intentions. But you'll come onto your back in a traditional bridge, and you can come down in any way that feels good. A bridge prep, I should say. Yeah. So feet on the floor, head is comfortable, heels underneath your knees. And before we shift from here, make sure that you're comfortable here, such that your head and neck are spacious. You don't feel smushed in your neck or shoulders. Let your breath come in and let your breath go out. In through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. One more breath in. And a breath out. We'll take these next few breaths to land here, and if you're finding that your knees are trying to fall apart, or I should say away from one another, you can knock them together, or even place your bolster between your heels and your bum so as to provide some support. But let these next few breaths ground you into whatever intention or sense of purpose got you to yoga today. You can let your breath come and go in its natural order of things, which is to say without efforting towards the inhale or the exhale. And as your mind focuses on your intention, notice if anything changes just by bringing that thought into your mind. So maybe it's an intention towards healing. And that might feel a certain way when you think about it. You're welcome to sit with that sensation, the sensation that goes along with your intention for the next few moments. Or you can prepare yourself for coming into gentle supported bridge. Now again, I've mentioned you can use a rolled up blanket or a block or your bolster, depending on the level of height you want underneath your pelvis. You'll press down gently into your feet, but with enough firmness to slide something underneath your pelvis. And then give your body just a moment to adjust. You can stay here or inch your feet a few inches forward. And it's okay if your heels are now more forward than your knees. I'll offer a handful of variations here, but you might feel like staying right here. One variation is to extend one leg forward and just let it stay. If you notice that your toes rotate out really fiercely, you can provide some support, because that can actually transfer some of this stretch and weight out of the hip flexors and more towards the small of the back. But it might feel good depending on if it's your outer leg line or your inner leg line that's bothersome. But you can also put another towel or blanket underneath your extended leg's knee just to help provide some support, and it might also prevent some of that external rotation from happening. If it feels okay to extend both legs, you can. We're going to alternate today. If it doesn't feel good to extend a leg at all, you can also always skip that and just stay with both feet on the ground. I'll give a call out for the middle timing. If you've had one leg extended this whole time, take a breath. On an exhale, you can gently engage through your belly or press more firmly into the leg that is not extended and hug the extended leg in. Take a moment's pause with both feet on the floor. And when you feel ready, you'll extend the other leg. And you can inchworm it forward or reach it all the way out. Again, if you get there and you discover that's not a good plan for my body today, that's an appropriate discovery. You never have to feel tethered to your initial choice here. You can change your mind, or your body can give you some feedback that maybe you need to make a different choice. breath in and a breath out. You can bring the extended leg back in. On an exhale, gently press into the leg that is still rooted into the ground. Maybe engage your core muscles. Maybe you can just support with the foot that's down. Walk your extended foot back in. Take a breath in and a breath out. To come out of this, first, bring your feet back so that your heels are underneath your knees. Press enough into your feet that you can slide whatever's underneath you out. Then we'll pause for a moment. Releasing the spine. Now, you can be perfectly still here and knock your knees together, or if it feels better to take an upside down cat-cow, you can arch and round through the small of your back. Just start to feel some gentle movement. In some bodies, it's the movement that shows the changes. That helps to integrate. For other bodies, it's the stillness. And that can change from day to day. And take a breath in and a breath out. And when you feel ready, you'll let your body roll to your side. It doesn't matter which side. Press into your hands and gently come up to seated. Okay. We'll find half butterfly. So bend one knee, let's say the right knee, and let the knee come out to the side. Extend, the other leg out. Now, there's always ample props around me. If you don't have exactly the same props, just make a choice based on what will feel best for you. So you could put a block under the bent knee or a rolled up towel. You could put 2 blocks under the bent knee. You just want to be able to sit upright. So if you feel like you're rounding backwards, maybe sit on a blanket. Now, if there's any bit of discomfort in the lower or bottom part of your leg, put a rolled up blanket or towel underneath your left knee or extended knee. Then we'll find a bolster or a big cushion to go into your left side body. We're setting up a seated side bend. Now, you can get the bolster right up into your side waist, but maybe you notice there's some extra space that might want some more support. You can add a blanket rolled up or a block to really give yourself some more cushion. And I like to make this pose really cushy so that it lets the body understand that it's not the same shape as the active shape. So you can even roll up a towel or a blanket to place between your ear and your shoulder so that everything can really settle. take care to make the pose as easeful as you can. Adjusting, adapting, adding props wherever possible, anywhere that would help. Now it might feel good to stay here even longer. You might feel ready to transition. When it feels right, or when the time has come, you can bring one hand at a time down to the floor. It's okay if your props sort of fall to the side. You'll keep your right knee roughly where it is, but if there are blocks under it, move them to the side. You'll set your bolster over the top of the blocks to the side of your right hip. So you might be picking up what I'm putting down. You might know where I'm going with this. but you'll slide away from the bolster if you'd like to have some extra cushion underneath your hip. Now there are a few different ways to do this shape, but you'll slide your right hip, or whatever your bent knee was, up against the right up against the edge of the bolster. Now, some folks like to put the left knee into the arch of the right foot, and that can do a little bit of something in the hip flexors. That's the technical term. But for some, it feels like too much on the small of the back. So as you're coming towards the twist, if it doesn't feel good in your low back, just bring the left knee up on top of the right knee and turn towards the bolster. This looks too high. So adjust as you turn. Now, I think I'm the only one pregnant here on this group, but if there's something going on in your belly and you don't want the pressure on your belly, whether that's a baby or just digestive stuff, you can leave a gap, but you'll bring your chest to turn towards the bolster. So that your elbows can come down on either side. Finally, if it's uncomfortable in the low back, or you just have the sense that you need more space, you can put something between your knees so that your knees aren't smushing into one another. This in and of itself can provide the pelvis with a little bit more space. Let your body get comfortable, even if it takes a few minutes to really wiggle into the shape, to change things around so that your body feels supported. Even in not traditional places. All right. You can stay here in this twist as long as you like. I'm going to offer a secondary variation that's more hip focused for those of you with hip stuff going on, since that seemed to be a theme. Now you're welcome to stay in the twist as long as you like. It is a nice cozy place. For those of you that were looking for hip stuff, if you sit yourself up, but bring your back along the edge of the bolster, with this variation, you might actually need to make the bolster taller, but you'll bring your left foot, or left knee I should say, into the crook of your right foot. But instead of twisting, this time you'll just lean back. So you might discover as you lean that you want the bolster to be taller. What I'm discovering as I lean is that I don't have enough cushion underneath my foot because my foot is off my mat. So maybe you need to spread out a blanket underneath you so that your foot's not digging into hardwood. But you get the idea, hopefully. You can also add extra cushion underneath your head or just make the bolster a little bit taller this time. There we go. We'll take just a moment or two here to give the hips a little bit of love. If it feels like too much on your knees, you can stay in the bolster twist another moment or come up to seated early. We'll only be here for a minute or two. When it's time to come up, you can shift towards the bent knee, the right knee, or right elbow. Press yourself up to seated. Use your hand underneath your left knee to help guide you up. And shift the props around as needed. We're going to set up the seated side bend on the second side, so there's a decent chance you'll have to reappropriate all the props. And that's okay. So if you needed something underneath your bum, you can set that up first. But this time, your left knee will bend and your right knee will extend. Put this over here for a second. You can put a block or two underneath your bent knee. You can slide a blanket underneath your extended leg. Let your bolster come into your right hip crease, maybe with a rolled up blanket on top to provide a little extra support. Take the time that you need with your props, even if it seems gratuitous, because it makes the pose a little bit more restful. Have everything situated. You'll let yourself lean to the right. If the side bend is feeling very restful, stay. If it's time to come up and shift, start by sitting up. You can slide your blocks out in line with your left leg. And as you break down your ramp or your cushion from your right thigh, you can just set the bolster on top of the blocks and make a ramp. A little bit of support underneath your knees to help you shift. We'll come into bolster twist on the second side. Now, extra cushion under the hip might be beneficial. I didn't mention this on the other side, but if your elbow's not quite touching the ground, you can always add a blanket for extra support. So set it up the same way you did before. If you put your right knee in your left arch, you can do that again. If you use the blanket between the thighs, do that again. We'll turn towards the bolster and really spin the chest towards the bolster. And let your body come down. can stay in this shape for a few moments longer. Or if you liked that secondary hip friendly variation, press into your hands to come up and set it up. And you'll slide or turn around. You might need an extra cushion for your foot. But you'll bring your right knee into the arch of your left foot and slide your back up against the edge of the bolster, maybe with a little extra cushion or support, and let your body come down onto the ramp in this different way. We're only here for a moment or two. And so let yourself breathe. When the pose feels like it's run its course, regardless of where you are, you'll let yourself gently lean to the left. Rather, if you're on your belly, you'll just press up to seated. If you're on your back, you'll lean to the left. You can use your hands to guide your knees up towards the ceiling. You have a couple of options. If you prefer to take Shavasana over your ramped bolster, you can do that. So you can set up Stairway to Heaven instead of Shavasana. It might be nice to bring the soles of the feet down and let the knees drop from side to side before you make your choice. Because the ramp is already here, if that sounds really nice, you can come right onto the ramp just by leaning back and either keep the soles of the feet on the ground or let your knees go out to the side. If you're coming into a butterfly shape, really lift the knees so that it's nowhere near the edge of comfort in your pelvis. Otherwise, it can get to feel like too much very quickly. You're welcome to take a traditional Shavasana coming onto your back, maybe using a blanket as a neck pillow, and placing the bolster underneath your thighs. Either of these are good options. And if you prefer to stay seated for some reason and meditate for these last few minutes, you're welcome to do that as well. So find yourself your final resting pose, whichever you choose. And let your body come to a sense of quiet ease. Take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Because everybody's in a slightly different place, take a moment to feel where you are, to observe how it feels to be in that shape, whatever it is. And over the next 5 to 7 breaths, make your way up to seated. Once you're upright in a comfortable seated position, land your hands on your belly and take a moment to acknowledge that sense of inner strength that brought you to your mat, that sense of purpose or intention. And keep one hand on your solar plexus, just at your lower ribs, just under your low ribs, and put your other hand at the center of your chest. Once your other hand has found your chest, give yourself any affirmation or positive reminder that you need right now. It can be as simple as, I'm okay, to something more specific. Sit up as you inhale. With your exhale, bring your hands together into the center of your forehead. We'll take a gentle bow together to close out practice. May all beings be peaceful, an acknowledgement of each other. Thanks so much for sharing practice.